Hello, I'm Jim Bennett. I'm the director of the National Center for Religious Freedom Education here at RFI. And it's been our privilege to be here this week at the International Religious Freedom Summit, and we were able to offer a pre-summit program. And glad to have today with us one of the individuals that participated in that program. So welcome to Heru Lawrence.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
So as you said, I'm Heru Lawrence. I study journalism. I'm a freshman at George Mason University. I have a minor in sports journalism. I also have an interest in human rights. I came to the IRF Summit on scholarship with Students for Falun Gong, a student activist program that raises awareness about the Falun Gong human rights atrocities in China, communist China. And yeah, I'm very happy to be here.
Oh, now tell us a little bit about that. You know, the scholarship opportunity. Why did you get involved in that particular sort of human rights focus, and then your broader interest in the human rights space? Where did that come from?
Yeah, so I've not really ever been a political type of guy. I've never been into human rights per se, but I started practicing Falun Gong around 16, 17, and I kind of practiced to myself in my own room, you know, trying to just become a better person and improve my morals. And then I heard that it was persecuted in communist China, and I realized that I should be one voice outside of China that speaks up about that, because, you know, it should be, if I'm able to freely practice what I want here in the U.S., then it should be the same for other people across the world, and they shouldn't have to risk imprisonment or torture or killing of any sorts. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I mean, that's the whole point of religious freedom, right?
Exactly.
Is that it's a natural right that's not dependent upon any government, any social endorsements. I mean, it's something that we have by the virtue that we're human.
Exactly.
So you mentioned kind of experiencing things on your campus, and you talk about free expression, religious freedom. You know, is that something that you think is valued on your campus? Do you experience tension amongst people of faith and non-faith? Is there really an understanding of the benefits of religious freedom? And if not, why not?
Well, specifically for George Mason, we're one of the most diverse campuses in the country, actually. We have a good variety of religions, ethnicities, and just people and their ideals in general. So I think that religious freedom is a natural concept in a diverse community, but of course there have been some squabbles on campus, disputing regions, disputing conflicts. You know, but I am proud to say that it's only been civil and quiet protests on both sides in all matters. So activism is active on my campus, and I try and take part of that as well. But it's never oversteps the boundary, and I think that that is the most important part.
And we talked yesterday in our program about the fact that religious freedom doesn't necessarily imply that all truth claims are equal. It doesn't require that everyone affirms everyone else's beliefs per se, but it always preserves the human dignity of the other, and it's done best when it's done respectfully. Is that something that you think is a message that resonates with your fellow students or friends that you might have from high school that are now other places? Because you mentioned, I mean, there is a lot of obviously tension in our culture, not just on campuses, but there as well. So do most people embrace that idea that really we should endorse respectful dialogue? And if they do, why don't we have more of it?
Well, yeah, I think, as you said, that did resonate with me in what we learned in the program yesterday. The basis that religious freedom is in society and the importance to which it is. As for the productive dialogue, I think a lot of people are enveloped in the tribalistic mentality of, I agree with what I think, what you are is wrong, you know, ethnocentric mentality, which isn't correct, of course. And I think that there needs to be more of a push, as you said, for the concept of religious freedom not to be, I just practice what I want to practice, but also I'm going to practice what I want to practice, and I also want to fight for your ability to practice what you want to practice. And I think that has not been pushed out. That idea hasn't been pushed out enough. That competing sides, rival sides, if you will, and differing sides, they should be united in the fight to have a choice, because that is a basic human right.
And as a journalism major, I mean, obviously you enjoy scripting stories and telling stories. How do you anticipate taking some of the principles we've talked about at the summit or in our program, some of the things you've obviously been thinking about as sort of a person with a faith perspective, how is that going to get integrated into your professional life someday, do you think?
Well, as you said, I am a journalist major. I do plan on taking on journalism full time in my future because I do think that it has become a occupation that has been weaponized by oppressive governments to further push their dangerous rhetorics overseas, and we've even seen it in the West. And I think that it's become an eroded occupation, and I want to provide my abilities to that and my own perspectives, and yeah.
You mentioned a couple things that were takeaways from yesterday's our time. It's the University Partnership Program for people listening and not sure what program we're referring to. What would you say were the top 2 or 3 takeaways? Were there any principles that really stood out to you? Were there simulations or some of the speakers we heard from? What really stood out to you?
Well, in the introduction, Mr. David Tremble, he's made a line that really hit home with me, and it was, religious freedom is important because religion is important. And that's one of my personal beliefs as well, because I do believe that society is built on that morality, and that governmental laws can only govern like superficially. But whether we choose to do those crimes, whether we choose to do those acts, it is an issue of one's own heart and one's morality, and that's where religion can step in. And even the choice of not having religion is also quite important in religious freedom as well. So I think that was really one main takeaway, and I never thought about it in that way, but the way it was said, it really hit home with me.
Okay, great, yeah. Well, here's your chance. So if you could say something to your peers at George Mason or other institutions, or maybe even sort of the public at large. Obviously, as a journalism major, you're hoping your audience someday is global, right? And you can impact a lot of people. What's the message you would want to give them from a religious freedom perspective, from some of the human rights issues that you said really mean a lot to you? What's your message?
I think my message would be that we often underestimate the power of young people's voices, and that when older adults, see young people using their voices in those ways, they tend to take those issues a bit more seriously, because of course everything that's happening these days is going to affect the younger generation, our generation, later on. So if we should not be sitting on the sidelines and just waiting for things to get better or for things to change. We should be identifying problems now, trying to find solutions, and trying to implement them now. Even if we are young, we can still find issues that we all care about. Whatever issues those may be, I might not even agree with those issues, but I think that you should find something you're passionate about and you should try and make a change.
Yeah, well, a lifetime of passion is not a bad thing. And starting young just gives you all the more opportunity to add to that zeal, the experience, and the insight that comes with a life well lived. So thank you, Heru, for giving your time here today. We're so grateful that you participated in the program and contributed to the program recently, and we look forward to seeing what you might end up doing in the future.
Okay, thank you.
So, thanks.
Thank you.